You know what I'm super excited about? I got my engagement watch back. I had to give this up because the watch that I truly wanted, my in-laws were like, they gave me a budget and they were like, go get you a new watch. The watch I really want is this used watch. It's an old Pasha, and I got it and they were like, are you sure? A used watch, okay. And I was like, no, that's really the one that I want because they don't make it anymore. Like, I really want this one. It was way below the budget that they gave me, but they were like, if that's what you really want, go get it. And then I promptly broke it. I knocked this, so it's a diver, so that spins on like a normal Pasha. It would not have the diver feature. Anyway, in order for that to spin, it has like a whole ball bearing system that's inside of that. This thing is made of 18 karat gold. So I bumped it while I was taking the trash out and like the whole system like bumped off. Fortunately, I found the gold piece because that would have been horrible if that was missing. Yeah, then I had to save up money to go take it to Cartier and repair it. But I finally have my fucking watch back and I'm so happy because it's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like, like this is dating, this is marriage, this is engagement. Like I kind of want the trifecta there because I love my wife. I love my wife, yeah. Because you're my best friend and I'm around you all the time. Like, what am I supposed to do? Actively avoid you in conversation? Get the fuck out of here. Can you succeed in the fashion industry as an introvert? That's a great question, and I can speak confidently about that as I myself am an introvert. I love being alone. I do not like being around. I'm making all that up. I'm actually quite extroverted. But this question does come up a lot. I've been in the industry now for, going to Paris consistently for 2 years, running this channel for 5 years. I know that there are a shit ton of introverts that participate in this industry in all different mediums. Here's the difference. As an extrovert and more of like an ideas type guy, there are times where in the process of running this company, I have to just sit down and I have to do detail-oriented, boring work that I do not want to do. Wildly against my natural desires and nature to I gotta fill out this fucking form and it's gonna take like 90 minutes. Let's just get started. I hate doing that stuff, but I have to do it. As an introvert, you absolutely can be a part of fashion in whatever part of it you want to be in. But there are going to be times where you just have to suck it up and you have to go to networking events because, if I'm being honest, no one is going to come looking for you. If you want that job, you gotta go be aggressive. And it's great. Make time for yourself to be able to go home and relax and like just watch a show or spend time with yourself or meditate or whatever you need to do to kind of get that energy back. Because I know it is draining for you to go out and like network and be like, hi, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Gotta do that sometimes. Fashion is notorious for being nepotistic, but really just everything is nepotistic. If you want that engineering job, you gotta go to the Chicago network of engineers parties. I wish everything worked on a meritocracy. For now, it really doesn't. And until it does, you need to figure out ways to be an introvert, but also do those things that you have to do. You can do it. I believe in you. Would celebrities taking the roles of creative directors be good for fashion? No. What is a piece that you absolutely love which uses a color that you dislike? That's actually a super good question. I gotcha. Okay, so to go back to the former question, no, I do not think that someone who is a celebrity should be able to have a job that rightfully belongs to someone who has worked their whole life to have these specialized skills that are specifically designed for that position. Most of the celebrities who are just like sort of handed a role in fashion usually are people who are deeply qualified and are deserving of a lot of praise and adulation. And if we're talking about meritocracies, those celebrities have fucking earned it in the meritocracy realm, just not in fashion. And in fashion, we do have people, it's a skill. All of these are hard skills. Even the skill of a creative director, those are hard skills that you have to learn over time. And just kind of passing that off to somebody who is famous for something else, that doesn't really work. Or at least I don't think it works as well as giving it to somebody who has trained their entire life, just specifically gearing themselves up for that one role because that's their dream job. Feels a little bit like a smack in the face to those people. Have there been famous people who have done really good jobs in those roles? Absolutely there have been. We're going to go back to this other question now, and we're going to talk about one of those people. What is a piece that you absolutely love which uses a color that you dislike? So immediately when I read that question, I thought about Virgil's Louis Vuitton stuff. Virgil, just for the record, Virgil was a famous person. All of it was fashion involved, fashion adjacent design stuff. Virgil was famous for those things. I think he was primarily selected for Louis Vuitton from the perspective of Louis Vuitton only, is what I'm saying here. Louis Vuitton looked at him as he's so famous that if we bring him in, it's only going to be a net positive for selling bags. And they turned out to be right with that. But then Virgil created some just unbe-fucking-leavable runway shows, just really advancing the art form. Interestingly, especially with Virgil's first show, the Rainbow Show, the one that we have done an entire episode about it. I'm quite proud of that episode. So in this runway show, there are a lot of really, really bright colors, and especially with things like this that sort of, at the time, this was a very novel concept, this idea of like, oh, we're going to have this mid-layer, but I'm going to be really experimental with it. I wanted one of these super, super badly. Price point was one issue why I didn't get it. But the other big reason was because I was like, man, I just don't feel like that color is gonna look good with my skin tone. And I was like, man, why didn't they make it in a more like neutral thing? Because I don't want like the Louis monogrammed one. That's kind of lame. Like, why are all of these other ones, why are they all in such vivid colors? And then it hit me, this like full realization, which I believe I spoke about a little bit when I was in the BBC documentary about Virgil, which is that Virgil came up and he used his first show as a way to design clothes that were, the color palette was designed for dark skin. And when it hit me that it's like, oh, the reason that doesn't look good for me is because it looks fantastic on these models who do have darker skin. And then I was like, wait, has like all of high fashion been designed for lighter skin? And then I had a very dark, bleak realization that it kind of has been. So that's one thing that I think Virgil Abloh brought into luxury fashion clothing design that had not been there previously, which is that he just really, really loved these bright, vivid, fully just straight through colors. That still just like fucks me up so much. And obviously like he had stuff that he was coming out with that was blacker, as like a more muted tone of something, but the really bright colors sort of gave me this realization that it's like, wow, there really are not, if you have very, very dark skin, you could look at a lot of fashion brands and be like, I see nothing that feels like it was made for me. And Virgil kind of came in, and it was another step in the like everyone gets a seat at the table idea that he became, I think, pretty known for at Louis Vuitton. Pretty cool. Your favorite female menswear designer? That is a great question. I love talking about this. It bounced off the couch and it hit the laptop. Is everybody okay? Yeah, laptop's okay. All right, we're going to be a little bit more conservative with the phone throwing in the future. That's a great question. Bianca Saunders is a great example of a woman who designs just fantastic stuff for menswear. A lot of it, I think, could be taken as gender neutral, but it is presented during Men's Week, so we'll say that she is a menswear designer. She does a great job because she includes techniques of draping into her work in very small, tasteful ways, so that I've always seen Bianca Saunders' goal as, these are my words, not hers, but I've always kind of seen the goal as, I want to make it so that a non-fashion guy will look at this shirt and go, hey, you know what? That is a cool shirt. I will try that shirt on. Let's give it a shot. And then it sort of becomes their like favorite like dress-up shirt. Because of a lot of her stuff, it uses like, it's not draping like this kind of draping. Because if you use draping like this, there are lots of men, me included, who would think that was badass. But this is not going to change any guy's mind about what kind of shirt they're wearing to like the party tonight with their girlfriend. Whereas shirts like this really might do that. This really might be the thing that makes someone kind of open their mind up to a wider idea of like, how do I want to dress? So I love her work for that exact reason. The runway shows are really interesting. It's really fun to look at all the little like pieces of inspiration and stuff with their like heritage and stuff, but the final product and stuff, it's really cool. I like this stuff a lot. Shockingly approachable. It's really good. How do I start in fashion as a 16-year-old? That is a super good question. It sort of sucks that like one end of this is like, that's fantastic that you're thinking ahead and trying to prepare for your future and stuff. That's very wise of you to do. But at the same time, on the other end, it's like, damn, like it feels like nobody really gets to have a childhood anymore. Like you're just sort of like focusing, like masterclassing yourself, like focusing towards like this like goal that you really might not even want anymore in 10 years. But to answer your question, please still allow yourself to have a childhood a little bit. I know it doesn't, when you're 16, it so doesn't feel like you're in a childhood anymore, but you are. So if you can, try to enjoy that. What I would do, it seems like the big thing for teenagers to do is to figure out what it is actually that you want to do as fast as humanly possible. If you think that you want to be a designer, you need to get yourself in front of a designer and figure out what it is they do on a day-to-day basis as fast as humanly possible. I realize that this is very, very difficult if you live in like rural Scotland, or if you live in Minnesota in the United States or something, or if you live where you don't have any close geographic access to a real, and I don't mean like a person locally who runs a little brand that might not be making any money. I mean like a real fashion designer in like a major city who shows. What we all have in our heads as to what these people are doing is usually wildly different than the reality of that person's day-to-day life. Most fashion designers spend less than 5% of their working time doing anything that resembles creativity. Less than 5%. I've talked to designers who said 5% is very generous. I probably spend less than 2% of my working time, not all of my time, of my working time, less than 2% is spent designing. I think to a lot of people who think, I want to be a fashion designer, I want to have my own brand, those people I think are assuming that like most of their time is going to be spent doing creative stuff and doing like photo shoots and like filming a cool video, and like now we're like cutting clothes and this coat is going to be so sick. Most of it is not like that at all. Most of it is just you in Excel trying to balance out spreadsheets and trying to negotiate with manufacturers who don't speak English, and there is so much stuff, so much painful stuff that honestly sucks to do that involved in being a fashion designer. This person did not say anything about wanting to be a fashion designer specifically. Start in fashion is all they said. If you want to be a fashion photographer, you need to go figure out what it's like to be a fashion photographer. If you want to be a fashion PR person, that's a thing that I almost never hear anyone talk about, but it seemed to me, if you have a certain kind of sensibility about you, working at a fashion PR company sounds like a fucking blast. You need to get in front of those people and try, like if you're a kid, if you're like a 16-year-old, like, and especially like when you're like an 18-year-old, like a 20-year-old, and you're like, wow, I'm like just starting in life. I'm like a new adult. People want to help you. If you ask somebody like, hey, can I like take you to coffee and like pick your brain? First of all, they're going to buy the coffee for you. But second of all, like they want to share that information with you because it makes them feel important. So what you can do that'll kind of help you out here is avoid people who have a really big public platform, because usually those people get so many requests for so many things that it's really hard for them to respond in a competent way to everybody. But if you look for somewhere, it's like, I've just worked in fashion for 25 years and I like, I do a good job. I'm like the head of like this manufacturer. Those types of people feel honored when a kid comes to them and says, I think you are kind of what I want to be when I grow up. Can I ask you some questions about what you do? They're usually very willing to answer those questions. So be respectful, be chill about it. And make sure everybody's being respectful to you. But just go and ask people, figure out as soon as you can, is your dream job actually your dream job? Or maybe do you have a misunderstanding about what that job is actually like? And it's cool. If the job turns out to not be what you want it to be, that's great. Can you imagine like spending 5 years prepping for a job that you ended up hating? That would suck. You want to figure out if the job's good or not, so that if it does suck, you can figure out what you really do want to do. That's great. You want to find failure with this. You want to be proven wrong. That is the goal. That was a really good question. I'm glad that you're prepping for that. Again, please allow yourself to have a childhood. I love you a bunch. Talk to you later.